Vitamin B12 is absolutely essential for our bodies to run properly. But here's the thing. A deficiency in it is one of the most common and most overlooked health issues out there. So today, we're going to decode some of those silent signals your body might be sending you. We've all been there, right? Feeling exhausted, maybe a little mentally fuzzy, and we just blame it on stress or, just getting older. But what if it's not that at all? What if it's a specific signal from your body about a nutritional gap that's actually surprisingly easy to fix?
And trust me, this is not some rare problem. Get this, a whopping 1 in 5 adults over 60 in the UK and the US are deficient. See, as we age, our bodies just get less efficient at absorbing this vitamin, which makes this a really critical topic for millions of people.
Okay, so let's dive in. To solve this little medical mystery, the first place we need to look for clues is your nervous system. That's usually where B12 deficiency leaves its first footprints. Ever get that weird pins and needles feeling in your hands or feet? Most of us just shake it out and think nothing of it. But that sensation can actually be a classic sign of nerve damage caused by low B12. So what's actually going on in there? Well, think of your nerves like tiny electrical wires. To work right, they need that rubber insulation around them. When B12 levels are low, that insulation starts to wear away. And that insulation, it has a name, myelin. And here's the key takeaway. Vitamin B12 is absolutely essential for your body to create and maintain this protective coating. Without enough B12, the signals from your brain just can't get where they need to go properly. And the nerve issues don't just stop with tingling. It can show up as blurred vision, muscle weakness, or even your reflexes feeling a bit slow. Some research even links it to depression because B12 plays such a huge role in keeping your brain healthy. But one of the most common neurological signs is headaches. In fact, a 2019 study turned up something pretty wild. Half of the women who were suffering from migraines had low B12 levels. That's a much, much higher rate than in people who don't get migraines. Now, the clues don't just stop with our nerves. A B12 deficiency can also wreak havoc on your blood, and that disrupts your body's entire oxygen delivery system. And that leads us to that deep, bone-crushing fatigue. I'm not talking about just being a little tired. I mean feeling totally wiped out even after a full night of sleep. And it's all because your body is struggling to make the healthy red blood cells it needs to carry oxygen around. So what's going wrong in the factory? Well, inside your bone marrow, where these cells are made, the assembly line starts to malfunction. It starts pumping out red blood cells that are way too big, kind of misshapen, and just too fragile to do their job right. This condition has a name. It's called megaloblastic anemia. And because these faulty, oversized cells can't carry oxygen like they're supposed to, the result isn't just feeling tired. It can lead to much more serious problems, like memory loss or even having trouble walking properly. Some other telltale signs to look for are pale or even yellowish skin. You might also notice your heart is working overtime, leading to a fast or irregular heartbeat, maybe some heart palpitations. That's your heart trying to compensate for the lack of oxygen in your blood. And why the yellowish skin? It's because those fragile, abnormal red blood cells, well, they break down really easily. And when they do, they release this yellow substance called bilirubin. If your body can't clear it out fast enough, it builds up and gives your skin that jaundiced look. Okay, so we've seen the clues in the nerves and the blood, so now it's time to ask the big question. Why does this even happen in the first place? Let's unmask the culprit. And it's not always just about your diet, which is kind of surprising. Sure, restrictive diets can be a factor, but a lot of the time, the problem is internal. It could be low stomach acid, which happens naturally as we age and makes it harder to get B12 out of our food. Or it could be a condition like Crohn's disease that messes with absorption. For some people, their body just can't make a special protein it needs to actually grab onto the B12. All right, now for the most important part. We've laid out the problem, so let's talk about the solution. Here's a really straightforward action plan you can use to solve this mystery and take back control of your health. It's a really simple 3-step plan. First, just recognize the symptoms. Start connecting the dots between things that might have seemed totally unrelated before. Second, start proactively boosting your B12 intake. And third, and this is the big one, talk to your doctor. All it takes is a simple blood test to get a real answer. So, when it comes to intake, B12 is naturally found in animal products. So we're talking about things like beef, chicken, fish, milk, and eggs. They're all fantastic sources. And if you want a little extra boost, some fermented foods like kombucha can chip in too.
And remember this, the stakes here are pretty high, but the solution is often really simple. Getting on top of this early isn't just about feeling better tomorrow. It's about preventing some really serious, potentially irreversible nerve damage and protecting your heart and your brain for the long haul.
So, if any of this sounded just a little too familiar, it's really worth asking yourself, could a simple health test hold the missing answer to how you've been feeling all this time? It's a question that is definitely worth asking.